I always knew my family was powerful. What I didn't know was how far they were willing to go to get what they wanted. And right now, what they wanted was Jack gone. It started with the subtle warnings. My father's men tailing me, my mother's cryptic conversations about protecting the family name. But then the warnings turned into actions. And tonight was the moment they made their move. Jack was waiting for me outside the club, leaning against the hood of his old, beaten-up car. He looked like he always did, come unreadable, like he had already planned 10 different ways to escape if things went south. But even he wasn't expecting this. The black SUV pulled up too fast, tires screeching against the pavement. The doors flew open, and before I could react, 3 of my father's men stepped out. No introductions. No warnings. Just action. "Get in the car, Lena," one of them ordered, his voice like steel. "You don't belong with him." I glanced at Jack. His expression didn't change. No fear. No anger. Just calculation. He was already reading the situation, already deciding how to handle it. I, on the other hand, was panicking. "Back off," I snapped, stepping in front of Jack as if my body could shield him from whatever my family had planned. "This isn't your business." "Oh, but it is," the man smirked, pulling back his jacket just enough to show the gun strapped to his side. Jack sighed. I knew that sigh. It was the sound of a man realizing he was going to have to fight his way out. And then, just like that, everything exploded into motion. I didn't even see Jack move. 1 second, he was standing beside me, calm and still. The next, he was a shadow in motion, swift, precise, and merciless. The first guy barely had time to reach for his gun before Jack grabbed his wrist and twisted. A sickening crack echoed through the night. The man screamed, but Jack had already moved on. The second man lunged, but Jack ducked low, driving his elbow into the guy's ribs before sending him crashing into the side of the SUV. He hit the pavement hard, groaning in pain. The third man hesitated. Big mistake. Jack turned to him, his green eyes dark and unreadable. "Still want to do this?" The guy swallowed hard. His hand hovered over his gun, but he didn't draw it. He wasn't stupid. He had just watched Jack take down 2 men in under 5 seconds. Then my father's voice cut through the tension. "Enough." Everything froze. I turned, and there he was, my father, stepping out of the SUV like he had all the time in the world. Tailored suit, sharp gaze, that damn cold smirk. He looked at Jack like he was nothing more than an inconvenience. Jack, on the other hand, didn't look at him at all. His focus was on me. "Lena," he said, voice low, steady. "Decide." "Decide? Decide what?" My heart was racing, my mind spinning. Then my father spoke again. "Get in the car, Lena. Now." Jack didn't move. He was giving me a choice. My family or him. And for the first time in my life, I didn't know what to do. I should have gotten in the car. That's what a good daughter would do. That's what a smart person would do. But I couldn't move. Jack's gaze was locked onto me, intense and unwavering. He wasn't scared. He wasn't backing down. He was waiting. For me. Get in a car. My father's voice sharpened, laced with authority, with a promise of consequences. Jack tilted his head slightly, his lips curling into something that wasn't quite a smile. It was more like a challenge. "She's not a pet, you know," he said, his voice quiet, controlled. "You don't just snap your fingers and expect her to obey." My father exhaled through his nose, unimpressed. "And you think you're the better choice?" Jack finally looked at him. Really looked at him. His green eyes held a storm. "I don't think," Jack said, stepping forward. "I know." Tension crackled between them like a live wire. My father wasn't used to being challenged. Jack wasn't used to bowing. It was a clash of worlds, and I was standing right in the middle of it. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me. If I got in that car, Jack would walk away. He'd disappear into the shadows, just like he always did. But if I didn't, I swallowed hard. And then I took a step. Not towards the car, towards Jack. I took a step toward Jack. and then another. I could hear my father's breath hitch, the shift in his stance, my mother's soft gasp. But I didn't stop. Jack's expression didn't change, but I saw it, the flicker of something deep in his eyes. Not surprise, not relief, something darker. Something that said, "You have no idea what you just did." "Lena," my father growled, warning laced in his voice. But it was too late. I had made my choice. And my father? He was going to make me pay for it. The first gunshot cracked the air like lightning. Jack moved fast. 1 second, he was beside me. The next, he was in front of me, a knife appearing in his hand like a phantom limb. "Fucking hell," Jack hissed, eyes snapping to the rooftops. "Sniper." My father didn't flinch. "Step away from my daughter, and I'll call them off." Jack tilted his head, the moonlight glinting off the blade in his hand. "Yeah. And what happens after that?" "You disappear." Jack let out a slow, humorless chuckle. "You mean die?" Father's silence was answer enough. Jack exhaled sharply, then glanced over his shoulder at me. "Last chance, princess," he murmured. "Get in the car or—" Another shot. Too close. Jack's arms snapped up, and before I even processed what was happening, he had thrown his knife. A muffled thud sounded from the rooftop, followed by the scrape of a body hitting the ground. And then everything went to hell. Guards lunged forward. Jack grabbed my wrist and pulled hard. "Run." I didn't hesitate. Gunfire erupted behind us, shattering glass, puncturing metal. Jack dragged me through the dark alleyways, weaving through the city like he had lived here his whole life, like he had been running forever. Because he had. And now I was running with him. We stopped in a dimly lit underground parking garage. My chest heaved, adrenaline burning through my veins. Jack was silent. Too silent. I turned. His shoulder was bleeding. "Jack." He waved a hand. Not deep. His voice was steady, but his eyes, they weren't on me. They were on the street beyond the garage. He was already planning his next move. Already thinking about leaving. "You're going to disappear, aren't you?" I asked quietly. He finally met my gaze. "You should too." But he knew I wouldn't. We both did. Jack exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "Your father's not going to stop, Lena." "Neither am I whispered. Jack closed his eyes for a second, like he was cursing the entire universe. Then he looked at me again. And I saw it. That moment. The one where he realized that no matter what he did, no matter how far he ran, I was always going to find him. He let out a low, rough laugh, shaking his head. "You really are trouble. Guess you're stuck with me." Jack smirked. But there was something sad in it. Something final. "We'll see about that." Then he was gone. Vanished into the night. But I wasn't worried. Because I knew something my father didn't. Jack could run. He could hide. But I was the only person in the world who could ever truly find him. And I would. No matter what it took.